The fire began quietly, a flicker in the canyons above Los Angeles. No one suspected it would become a monster. Within hours it was a raging inferno. The sky turned an angry red. Embers rained down on terrified residents. The air choked with smoke. This was not just a wildfire, it was an apocalypse. This was the new reality for Los Angeles. A city living with the constant threat of fire. A city where even the most advanced technology could not guarantee safety. Los Angeles had poured billions into firefighting technology, drones equipped with infrared scanners, AI-powered prediction models, massive fire breaks carved into the hills. These tools were supposed to be our savior, our defense against the inevitable blazes. They were supposed to give us time, to warn us, to protect us. But the firestorm of 2025 was different. It moved with a speed and ferocity that defied prediction. It jumped fire breaks as if they were mere cracks in the earth. The technology, for all its sophistication, was overwhelmed. It was like fighting a hurricane with a fly swatter. We were outmatched. The Santa Ana winds were always a threat. Known locally as the devil winds, these powerful gusts have a notorious reputation. They originate from the high-pressure systems over the Great Basin and sweep down through the canyons and valleys of Southern California. Their arrival is often marked by a sudden rise in temperature and a drop in humidity, creating the perfect conditions for wildfires to ignite and spread rapidly. Hot, dry winds that roared down from the desert. These winds can reach speeds of up to 70 miles per hour, turning the landscape into a furnace. The heat they bring is oppressive and the dryness they cause is palpable. It's as if the very air is being sucked out of the environment, leaving everything parched and brittle. They turn the canyons into tinderboxes. The vegetation, already stressed from months of drought, becomes a ready fuel source. One spark is all it takes to set off a chain reaction. The dry brush and chaparral ignite almost instantaneously, and the fire spreads with terrifying speed. But this time, the Santa Anas were relentless. They didn't just blow for a day or two, they persisted for nearly a week. The constant barrage of wind made it impossible for firefighters to gain any ground. Every time they thought they had a handle on the blaze, the winds would shift, and the fire would surge anew. They blew for days, whipping the fire into a frenzy. The flames, fanned by the unyielding gusts, grew taller and more ferocious. The firestorm created its own weather patterns, with updrafts so strong they could lift burning embers high into the sky and carry them miles away. They pushed the flames across freeways, over mountains, into the heart of the city. The fire showed no mercy, consuming everything in its path. Homes, businesses, and natural landscapes were all reduced to ash. The speed and ferocity of the fire left little time for evacuation, trapping many in a desperate race against the inferno. Even the fire breaks, carved at great cost and effort, were useless. These barriers, designed to halt the advance of the flames, were no match for the wind-driven fire. The flames leaped over them as if they weren't even there, rendering all the hard work and planning futile. Embers carried by the wind leaped across these barriers with ease. The fire was unstoppable. Each ember that landed in a new area sparked another blaze, creating a patchwork of fires that merged into a massive, uncontrollable inferno. The firefighters were overwhelmed, their efforts dwarfed by the scale of the disaster. The technology had failed to account for the sheer power of nature. Despite the use of the latest firefighting equipment and techniques, the fire continued to spread. Helicopters dropped water and fire retardant, but the wind scattered it before it could make a difference. Ground crews dug fire breaks and set backfires, but nothing could stop the relentless advance of the flames. It had underestimated the fury of the wind. The Santa Anas were a force of nature that could not be tamed. Their power was awe-inspiring and terrifying, a reminder of the limits of human control over the natural world. And now, Los Angeles was paying the price. The city, shrouded in smoke, bore witness to the devastating power of the devil winds. The fires had left a scar on the landscape and a mark on the collective memory of its residents. The lessons learned from this inferno would shape the city's approach to fire prevention and response for years to come. The prediction models, once our source of comfort, now seemed laughable. They had predicted a slow-moving brush fire, something manageable. But this was no ordinary brush fire. This was a firestorm of unimaginable scale. It moved faster than any model could have predicted. It consumed everything in its path. The drones, our eyes in the sky, were blinded by the smoke. their sensors overwhelmed by the heat. They provided fragmented, useless data, like a blind man trying to describe the sun. The technology, our shield against disaster, had shattered, leaving Los Angeles naked and vulnerable to the flames. Section 5. Trapped in a concrete jungle. The firestorm created its own weather system. Towering pyrocumulonimbus clouds rose miles into the atmosphere. Lightning sparked from the smoke-filled sky. People were trapped. Freeways became parking lots choked with abandoned cars. The lucky ones escaped on foot, carrying only what they could hold. The fire did not discriminate. It consumed mansions in Bel Air and bungalows in Boyle Heights. It turned the iconic palm trees into flaming torches. Los Angeles, the city of dreams, was now a city of nightmares. A concrete jungle turned into a fiery inferno. Section 6. Paradise Lost. Homes and histories turned to ash. In the heart of Los Angeles, a city known for its glitz and glamour, an unimaginable tragedy unfolded. The fire, relentless and unforgiving, swept through neighborhoods, leaving a trail of devastation in its wake. The fire burned for weeks. Day and night the flames raged on, consuming everything in their path. The sky turned a haunting shade of orange, and the air was thick with smoke, making it hard to breathe. When it was finally extinguished, the damage was unimaginable. Entire communities were left in ruins and the landscape was unrecognizable. The once vibrant neighborhoods were now ghost towns with only the charred remains of homes standing as a testament to the destruction. Thousands of homes were reduced to ashes. Families who had lived in these houses for generations lost everything in a matter of moments. The sense of loss was palpable, and the grief was overwhelming. Entire neighborhoods were wiped off the map. Streets that were once filled with laughter and life were now silent and desolate. The fire had not only destroyed buildings, but had also taken away the essence of the community. The economic cost was staggering, but the human cost was immeasurable. Families were torn apart, lives were lost. The emotional scars left by this disaster would take years, if not decades, to heal. Memories were turned to dust. Precious mementos, family heirlooms, and irreplaceable photographs were all consumed by the flames. The fire had taken away not just homes, but also the tangible pieces of people's histories. The fire had exposed the fragility of our existence. It reminded us that, despite our advancements, we are still vulnerable to the forces of nature. The sight of a lone figure walking through the ashes was a stark reminder of the resilience of the human spirit. It had shown that even in a city as advanced as Los Angeles, we are still at the mercy of nature. The juxtaposition of the modern cityscape with the fire-ravaged areas highlighted the stark reality of our vulnerability. The technology had failed to protect us. Despite the best efforts of firefighters and the use of advanced equipment, the fire proved to be too powerful. It was a humbling experience, showing us that sometimes even the most advanced technology is no match for nature's fury. And now, we were left to pick up the pieces of our shattered lives. In the aftermath, the community came together, showing incredible strength and solidarity. People helped each other sift through the rubble, finding solace in the shared experience of loss and the hope of rebuilding. Section 7. Why did the future fail us? The failure of technology to contain the Los Angeles firestorm was not just a technical failure, it was a failure of imagination. We had become complacent. We had placed too much faith in our gadgets and algorithms. We had forgotten the unpredictable power of the natural world. The fire had exposed the limitations of our technology. Our sensors were too slow, our models too simplistic, our understanding of fire behavior too incomplete. We had built a Maginot line of technology, but the fire had simply gone around it. Section 8. Lessons Not Learned, A History of Disaster. The tragedy of the Los Angeles firestorm was that it was not an isolated incident. It was part of a pattern of disasters where technology had failed to protect us. From Hurricane Katrina to the Fukushima meltdown, time and again we had seen the limitations of our technological solutions. We had failed to heed the warnings. The Los Angeles firestorm was a wake-up call, a reminder that technology is not a silver bullet, that we cannot engineer our way out of every crisis. Section 9. Can we stop the next inferno? The question now is, can we learn from our mistakes? Wildfires have become more frequent and more devastating, leaving behind a trail of destruction that affects not just the environment, but also the lives of countless people. As we sift through the ashes, we must ask ourselves, What went wrong and how can we prevent it from happening again? Can we develop new technologies, new strategies to prevent such catastrophic fires in the future? The advancements in fire suppression technology such as drones and new firefighting equipment offer a glimmer of hope. These innovations can help us detect fires earlier, respond faster, and contain them more effectively. But technology alone is not the answer. The answer is not simple. It involves a complex interplay of science, policy, and community action. We need to understand the underlying causes of wildfires, which are often rooted in climate change, poor land management, and human activity. Only by addressing these root causes can we hope to make a lasting impact. It will require a fundamental shift in our thinking. We must move away from a reactive approach where we only respond to fires after they have started and instead focus on prevention and preparedness. This means rethinking how we manage our forests, how we build our communities, and how we live our lives in fire-prone areas. We need to move beyond reactive measures and embrace a more holistic approach to fire management. This includes better forest management practices such as controlled burns and thinning, which can reduce the fuel available for wildfires. It also means engaging with local communities to educate them about fire safety and preparedness. We need to invest in research and development, exploring new ways to predict and prevent wildfires. Scientists are working tirelessly to understand the behavior of fires and develop new tools to combat them. This research is crucial, but it requires funding and support from both the public and private sectors. But we also need to invest in community engagement, forest management, and climate change mitigation. Communities must be at the forefront of fire prevention efforts, working together to create fire-safe environments. Forest rangers and other professionals play a key role in managing our natural landscapes, and their work must be supported and expanded. The future of Los Angeles, and indeed the planet, depends on our ability to learn from the ashes of the past and build a more resilient future. By combining technology, science, community action, and policy changes, we can create a world where wildfires are less frequent and less devastating. The path forward is challenging, but with determination and collaboration, we can stop the next inferno before it starts.